Okay, so I just finished working seasonal as a cashier, and I was completely exhausted. Like on Christmas, we're closed, of course, but that whole entire week, like they had me working like 80 hours. And so, like, this is also not my first time working as a cashier. I also worked last year as a cashier too. So, it is terrible. Like sometimes customers can be completely terrible. Like this year it was much better because I know what to do this time because I'm working at the same store and all that stuff. So, but these are a few things that people are doing. Like on the Christmas Eve after working like 80 hours and that night before, like I was exhausted, like I barely got any sleep. And so like when I was there, I was just like, hello, how are you doing? And people were like, oh, well, you don't sound happy. Listen, there's nobody in that store is actually happy to see you. The only reason why we're there is because we're getting paid. It's the only reason why we're there. We're not freaking happy to see you. We don't want to talk to you. If we had the opportunity to make twice as much money or three times as much money taking out trash, like the job to take out trash without ever dealing with you, we would do it because we rather look at garbage than look at you. Okay? Okay? And so like you guys are watching this video and you're like, "Oh, why is she so sour?" Oh my gosh, just cuz like the reason why I'm so freaking sour is because customers are like super like disrespectful a lot of times. They look at you and then they think that you're nothing. Customers, they ask me to throw away disgusting trash 24/7. And a lot of times they don't even ask, they just tell me to do something. Like, for example, they had this trash, right? This one lady, just recently, she had this trash and she was like, here. And then she shoved it to me, throw it away. And I'm looking at her like, the trash can is over there. And she's like, do you have a trash can behind your register? And I said, yes, I do. Yeah, I do. But I didn't like the way that she asked me. It's like, it's not my job to throw away her trash, and it's nasty. People put their mouths all over the trash that they're asking me to throw away. They're asking me to throw away cups, they're asking me to throw away candy and all this stuff. It's like, no, I don't throw anything away. I'm not a person who takes out trash. People who takes out trash get paid more than I do. People who takes out trash get better benefits than I do. So no, I'm not gonna do it. The trash can is over there by the door, which you're gonna walk past. There's some customers that said okay. Other customers, they really didn't like the fact that I said that they should throw something away. There was this one customer that had her mom there, right? And her mom took a Starbucks cup out of the car and then she put it on the floor, where I exit my register. She put it right down the floor. And I thought that was so disgusting. And so I told her that, ma'am, the trash can's over there. And so what the customer did, the customer was like, I don't know, like if she was like brain damaged, or I don't know if she has like some type of anger issues and all that stuff, or maybe that she's unemployed. I don't know what's going on with her brain, but like she was so freaking pissed off at me that I asked her mom to throw away her own trash. She actually sat down and she lied. She was like, that trash is not mine, that trash is not mine. And how did I know that she was lying? Is because she comes off like the person that she's a freaking liar. She comes off like it. So yeah, and then she's like, I want your manager. I really want your manager. I want your manager to come over here because you didn't ask my mom to throw anything away. I'm like, yes, I did. I asked her to throw something away. She's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. And then, like, when the manager came, the manager's like, no, no, no. She said, okay, so the first things first, and da 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 da. And then, second thing is that she asked my mom to throw away something. And then, manager was like, okay. And then she left. No, like that serious. The manager didn't even give a crap because the manager like been putting up with these customers, like these stupid customers, all day. So she didn't even give a crap. She just said okay, and then she walked away. And honestly, like I started freaking laughing, and the customer couldn't even look me in the eye anymore because I guess that she felt embarrassed. That's like I don't even understand the stupidity of people. Like just today, like I was just like yesterday. Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve. Christmas is about Jesus sacrificing himself, right? No, no, no. Yeah. It's just to remember Jesus. Like, it's a day that Jesus was born. He sacrificed himself to save, like, humankind and all that stuff. Because he saw humans and God saw humans and humans were terrible and humans were nasty. And he just wanted to wipe us out completely. He just wanted to get rid of us. And so Jesus, like, saved us and all that stuff. And so, like, it's remembering Jesus Christ. And so human beings are proving that they're freaking terrible by treating other people terrible. Because cashiers have to listen to them and have to put up with their freaking mess. Nobody, their friends or their family, wants to hear them speak like that to them. Nobody wants to put up with that mess. And so they go to cashiers and then they look at them and then they're like, okay, so this person likes me, or if this person doesn't like me, they hurt my feelings. I had this one lady walk up to me, right? She's like, she comes up to me and she's like, you look mad. That's the reason, that's how she was like, you look mad. Yeah, she comes up to me and she started like yelling actually. And so I looked at her. She had like some type of scraggly, messed up hair. And then she had like really, really wide nostrils that were flaring. And I couldn't actually figure out why the frick was she yelling at me. It's like, it's just so weird because me myself, like as a person who's go to the store and then check out, it's like I don't care like if the what if the cashier looks, kind of down or kind of tired. It's like I don't care because like I'm just checking myself out. I'm just checking myself out so I can leave. I'm not trying to give people a hard time, but then again, as I said before, people don't want to listen to their freaking mouth. People don't want to listen to them. And so they're going to try to do that to somebody else that's working the job, that has to be there. Right? At that point, I was just like, I'm not mad, ma'am. I'm just tired. And so like I was doing my very best, and then like she gave me a gift card in the beginning of the transaction. I forgot that I had that gift card, right? And then she started yelling yet again. She's like, come on, honey, wake up. She started clapping in my face. Wake up. You're on the clock. Da, 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 da. At that point, like I felt like it's just to a point where like I've been working like most of the hours that day, like at least 14 hours. I got like maybe 4 hours of sleep, and I was like incredibly hungry because I didn't eat ever since like 3 a.m. and I had like a little bit of something at 3 a.m. So I was tired and I was freaking hungry, and so like I felt like really freaking bad already. And so like after that freaking customer, my eyes started watering. My eyes started watering because that's how freaking terrible I felt. That I had to like freaking deal with these freaking idiots. And it's like, and it's Christmas Eve. People are supposed to be very happy and very joyful and very respectful. But no. And so like, and it's like the customers in the line, they came in waves. Every single time it's like, it's super busy and then it's nobody. And then it's super busy and then it's nobody. So I finally got up and I finally left my register and I went to the break room. Just to sit down and just to eat some food because they had food in there. I was so freaking tired. I think that when I was talking, I wasn't making any sense. That's how tired I was. Yeah, and then like I look around me and there's cashiers and people on the floor that was sitting in that break room for a very long time, and they didn't want to leave either. They didn't want to get up and leave because they didn't want to go back out there. Oh my goodness gracious, because they didn't want to go back out there. I just felt super freaking sick. And the very next day on Christmas itself, I wasn't out there celebrating. I was sleeping. I was sleeping, and then I woke up, and then my eyes got like rolled behind my head, and then I went to sleep again. And then I woke up, and then went to sleep again. I wasn't even able to eat until like 6 p.m. Like 6 p.m. because I've been sleeping all day. And then when I ate, I went back to sleep. Because like my body itself was exhausted for working like 80 hours. It was exhausted. And I had to deal with like people like that all day. It's like the machine, it's not machine, but it's like the system. The system had an issue with a product, right? And so like that's not my fault. That's not the customer's fault. It's the system. And so I figured out a way. The customer had 4 items. I figured out a way to scan 3 items, but not the last one. And then the customer, finally just gave up and he's like, okay, it's fine. I'm not going to get the last item anyway. But still, I apologized like a couple of times, And the customers is like, it's just almost as if they're so freaking. It's almost as if they're so freaking kind of self-centered and almost stupid, kind of like self-centered and stupid, to the point where like they can't realize that it's not my fault. They can't realize that it's not my fault. I could have like made and I told them like two things. It's like I can get the manager, or I could like make a separate transaction. 2 things. That's what I can do. And so they said, no, it's okay. I don't want it anyway. We don't need it. It's like, okay, yes. So that's what they said. But they completely ignored me when I apologized. So they were mad at me for something that's not even my fault. And you know what's interesting about those customers is that they were at the other register, and the chick thought there was a problem with the machine itself. No. And they were there for like 10 minutes. And then they come to my register, and it's the same thing. The problem is not the machine itself. The problem is the system. But the manager is like, it's Christmas Eve, so the manager would take like 30 minutes just to come over there to me. Or they would ignore me for like other customers who's questioning them. Yeah, they would ignore the employee who's asking them to come over. So anyway, I found a way to scan 3 items out of 4. Even though the system like was against me, I find a way to do it anyway. And I was never trained to do that ever, but I problem solve with my own brain. And instead of saying thank you, they were just agitated and mad. Frick you. Like, frick these guys, man. It's just very irritating. It's just very irritating. There's this customer, right? Who I'm saying the same thing to, like, you guys. I'm saying that, a lot of times in these busy situations, when the employee comes up to a manager and asks the manager for help, and then the customer comes to the manager and asks the manager for help, the manager would go with the customer rather than the employee themselves, because it's the customer. They're dealing directly with the customer. So there was this one guy that was having like some type of issue. He was having some type of issue, and so like I had to go and get the manager, and she was at the register. I said, okay, so I'm just gonna go over there and ask her, right? And so I did. And so she said, one moment. I come back to my register, and turns out she took another customer instead. She took another customer because that's what they always do. They always choose other customers. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't see another manager. I'm going to ask somebody else. And so he's like, oh, why did she take the other customer? Why did she do that? I said she did that because the customer asked her to. When the customer comes up to the manager is going to choose the customer over the employee. And then he said that, oh, you got to go out there and ask. You the employee. You're the one that's working here. You blah, 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 blah. And so, like, he tried to, like, pigeonhole and pigeon blame me for me doing my job to try to freaking help him out. Now, that's really frustrating because that proves exactly what I said. Because the customers are, like, pea brains. Like, some of them can be, like, pea brains. They don't really realize that, it's not really the employee's fault, the cashier's fault. Sometimes it's the fault of the manager themselves. Sometimes the manager is doing things that can make me look bad, and because I forcefully have to deal with them head on, they blame me instead of blaming the manager. Like, that's idiotic. And you know what? I found another manager and I asked her for help, and she's like, you see, this is what happened when you finally go over there and talk. You see, blah, 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 blah. It's just to a point where I don't even know what he's talking about anymore. He seemed like, it just seemed like he just wanted to blame somebody for like him being like pissed and scared. I don't know if he was like scared to ask the manager. I don't know what was going on in his head, but it was obviously something not right. Okay? Here's something else that happened. There's this manager in the store. She's a good manager, but The store operates like this. It's a very big store. So when we need something, we search up on the computer to see if we have it in stock, and then we call in the back to see if we actually have it there in the back. And so what happened is that this customer comes up and he's like, "Oh, I want this thing here, this object. I want this thing here. Let's just call it like object 12. I want object 12." And then and then I go on the computer, look it up, and it turns out the computer says that we have two in the back or whatever, in the back of house. In the back of house, like all the way, like where the customers can't actually go to. And then I call on a walkie and I'm like, "Hey dude, can you go and get this from the back? Can you go and see if it's in the back?" And he said that, "Okay, I'm gonna go and see." And then the manager calls him off from looking in the back to go and stand there in the front. And I saw him standing there doing nothing. She called him to the front and he was standing there literally doing nothing. And I told the customer, "Okay, so this is gonna take even longer than I thought it was gonna take because the manager called the guy that was looking for him off of it." And he's like, "Oh my goodness." Yes, and he was like, "Oh my goodness." And there's something else that happened. When I talked to somebody else to try to look up that item 12 that he was looking for, um the guy told me over the walkie that it was like 12 voltage or something like that. And I'm like, "No, I'm looking for 24 voltage." And then the manager said, "Are you guys talking about batteries? What are you talking about, batteries?" Yes. And so like what happened is that, since I didn't want to argue with the manager or whatever, the guy ended up bringing like the smaller item 12. He ended up bringing like an item 6. He didn't bring item 12. And so like, yeah, the lower the voltage, like the smaller the item, right? So that's another thing that was screwed up. Like, and he found that out at the checkup line when he was like buying it. And he found that out at the checkup line when he was buying it, that it was a smaller item, and I said that to him, right? And you know what? The customer actually seemed like, when I was being vocal and I was telling him exactly what was happening, he seemed irritated at me. He wasn't irritated at the manager. He was irritated at me for doing my freaking job, right? And so the manager goes up and she said, "I'm sorry, sir." And the customer starts smiling with a big old smile on his face. And he's like, "Okay." And then the manager gave him a hug. And then he gives her a hug too. I was like, I'm like curious about what's freaking happening. I'm the one telling the customer what's going on. I'm the one telling the customer that the reason why you had to wait here for about 40 minutes and the reason why your order was screwed up is because the manager themselves are calling people off your order. The manager yourself is making another person like look up another item wrong. I was the one that told you that the item was wrong. I was the one told you that, I had to call somebody else to look up the item for you. I was the one that was doing all that to try to get things right. And then turns out you're irritated at me, but not the manager that was doing all that stuff. Like it's really crazy. Like it's really crazy. This is the reason why I really don't like retail, but I did like some things I learned, but like there's some things I didn't learn. But anyway, this video is getting too long, and y'all probably tired of listening to me, so bye.